Good evening once again. It looks like we are back, and I'd like to welcome everyone back for take two of tonight's first episode of a three-part series, A Bold Vision for Portland. I am your host and your candidate for mayor of Portland, Oregon, Ozzie Gonzalez, here to share my vision for housing and homelessness with you. And I'm going to speak with a few guests who are waiting patiently on standby and who are working on a pretty amazing project here in the city. For anybody tuning in, we will be answering questions at the end of the program, so please send your questions in through the comments section of your live stream, and we will answer as many as we can get to in the hour. Tonight's program is coming to you live, 100% via YouTube, and are we in Facebook as well? We're sending through Facebook as well, from the studio at North Rim in Southeast Portland. I am here with our studio engineer, Mike DiNapoli, sitting right over there. How you doing, Mike?
Great, thanks. Hi.
Thank you, Mike. And my guests today are joining us via video conference from the safety of their own homes. Portland, times are getting pretty intense. We are in uncharted territory as a city, and we are in need of a different kind of leadership. Now more than ever, we need a leader who can bring forward a clear vision, one that we can all get around. And that's why tonight I'd like to share my vision for housing and homelessness with you. Every night in Portland, Oregon, over 4,000 people are sleeping outside in tents, under freeways, and in parks. Throughout the nooks and crannies of our city, people who have fallen through the cracks in society, cracks that are getting bigger. They are people who are fighting obstacles every day to survive. Children, adults, men and women, young and old. Even though people of color make up roughly 30% of our city's total population, almost 40% of our homeless population is comprised of people of color. Homelessness has existed for many years, and the size and nature of our homeless population, however, has changed drastically over time. And in recent years, the nature of our homeless population has shifted to more chronically homeless. These are the people who are least likely to regain housing stability. People over the age of 70 are now the fastest growing group of homeless in Multnomah County. And this is a deeply concerning statistic. What we do for our city's homeless people in the next few years is going to say a lot about our character. We all know our current approaches are not working, and we can do so much better. And while some progress has been made by our current mayor, that progress has not kept up with the need, and it's time that we fundamentally rethink our approach. Like so many of our problems, there are gaps in the system, especially when it comes to access. There are many services available throughout the city, but connecting those people to the services continues to be a challenge. People without shelter have no place to meet their most basic needs in our city, and this is creating unsafe, unhealthy, and unsanitary conditions. More importantly, it's not providing pathways for people to regain their stability, and we can do so much better. The same is true in the housing market. With the median house price in Portland at over $450,000 and the median income at just over $70,000, there are major gaps between what jobs pay and what it takes to qualify to buy a house in Portland. Roughly 47% of our Portland residents are renters, and that is a statistic much higher than in other cities. And a recent boom of redevelopment has bumped the cost of units up, pushing longtime residents and businesses out to the edges of the city or to other cities altogether. We are changing rapidly, and for many people, staying in Portland is getting harder every day. Well, today, I'm going to tell you about my plan to address both of these pressing issues. You see, every good solution begins with a clear vision for what the end point will be. I call that my North Star. The way I see it, Portland, here is our North Star. It should not matter what your job is. A full-time job in this city should earn you enough to find a place to live in this city. If we don't have enough minimum rate housing for the number of minimum wage jobs, we either increase people's wages or we provide more housing at a price that people can afford. Simple as that. Anything else is a bust in the system. And we've been busted for a while. Even better, we need to think about housing as not just a bed to sleep in, but as a neighborhood to live in. Before housing is dropped into a neighborhood, we need to look at whether that neighborhood is walkable, safe, and well served by the schools, the parks, and the public transit. We also need to consider providing housing that meets different people's lifestyle needs. That means housing options must address intergenerational living, co-housing, and supportive housing as their own programs with their own sets of standards, design guidelines, and funding structures. Now, here's the fun part. How do we do that? Well, the short answer is we're going to do it together. Government is going to provide the policies and a clear set of standards. Neighborhoods will provide the insight and help us set those top priorities. Local businesses will provide the investment, the drive, and the commitment to innovate. Now, the transitions we need to make are not small. They will require a fixation on constant improvement, a tolerance of one another, and a government that can challenge all of us to lean into this through partnerships and by staying at the table to resolve our toughest places of this transformation. I don't expect it to be easy, but I am certain that we can do it, and we can come together as one city with a shared vision to do it beautifully. These are the 3 policy initiatives that I'm proposing under my plan for housing and homelessness. Number 1, establishing use standards for transitional emergency services. Number 2, creating a citywide community service program. And number 3, establishing a transit-oriented development overlay zone. And some of you out there might be thinking, well, what does that mean? Let's take a look at each one of them, shall we? Beginning with transitional emergency services. Transitional emergency services are a use standard. For those in the land use world, a land use standard allows uses to be legal. It's what allows a church to be in a neighborhood community. It's what prevents a skunk farm from being set up in a community of housing. Transitional emergency services are what are going to be used to help make sites legal and permit pop-up service sites so that they can occur. There are many places throughout the city where pop-up service centers can be created, and helping provide a legal pathway for them to exist is step 1. I also believe that creating a centralized referral system is going to be key to making this program work. This is what's going to get people to the services. And if we can create physical locations that are legal, that we can point people to, and that there's someone at those sites ready to conduct an intake and begin figuring out where to refer them to services, I think we're on the right path. The next step of my first part is prefabricated shelters and facilities. There's a need to do this way faster than we are, and getting brick and mortar permitted occupiable buildings take years. We don't have that kind of time, and so we need to be able to create pop-up sites using prefabricated shelters that can be put up over a weekend. And that is what's going to provide the basic services in a more immediate model. And that's just the beginning. Community service programs are another piece of the puzzle that we've got to look at. Community service programs are something that Portland is very much attuned to. We have volunteer programs throughout the city doing all sorts of things. I think it's time we bring all of that together under one banner. We can create a digital currency platform. This is going to make transactions secure and anonymous. If you're somebody without an address or without a place to put your belongings at night, this makes all the difference in the world. We also need to create a community investment fund. I believe we can have this program funded through community investments. This makes the program more adaptable and much faster to deploy than any sort of government tax measure or any bond program that you can imagine. The third piece of the community service program is to ensure that we've created a backbone that helps even the standard across the city. This is going to make the program consistent throughout the city. And by putting these 3 pieces together, we can create a community service program that's going to help meet the basic needs for some of the folks out in the community and provide the beginnings of a pathway so that they can start doing something that will earn them money and begin to create the relationships that lead them towards stability. The third piece of the puzzle deals with housing. We have an opportunity to address vehicle miles traveled. The biggest part of our carbon footprint is in our transportation, and we can do both carbon and housing pricing with a transit-oriented development overlay zone. For those in the land use world, An overlay zone is another standard that allows people to do different kinds of projects within a site. My policy will designate transit overlay zones along all transit corridors throughout the city so that developers can start creating amenities for mobility in every project they develop along those corridors. I'm talking about electric vehicle parking, places to charge and rent scooters, places to pick up the bus or get a transfer, even places to stop during one of the train routes and take care of a quick item, such as picking up your Amazon locker package or picking up your mail from a mailbox. These are all items that can be done with mobility hubs. Mobility amenities are going to be critical to activating transit infrastructure in a way that enhances our housing and our land use. I also think we have to recognize that the best way to reduce our carbon footprint and reduce congestion, as well as our demand for vehicle miles traveled, is by bringing housing and jobs closer to one another. We often think about how we can reduce our transportation carbon footprint, and more than what we do for parking or what we do to add or take lanes out of freeways, it is in how close jobs are to housing that our carbon footprint comes. And so my transit-oriented development zone policy is going to make sure that we're bringing housing and jobs much closer to one another. The third piece of my TOD policy deals with displacement. We have an opportunity to address all of the issues around gentrification and intergenerational poverty by acknowledging that when we redevelop our neighborhoods, when we enhance those parks, when we bring in bike lanes and sidewalks, we have to make sure to protect the existing fabric of the neighborhood that we are improving. And one of the things we must be sure to prevent is displacement, and I mean for businesses and for residents. Well, my transit-oriented development policy will institute anti-displacement protections throughout so that we can always have an opportunity to offer people a place to live, a place to work, and a stable balance between the pricing of those two things. That is the job of government, and that's the kind of leadership I want to bring in how we address housing and homelessness. Now, since we've been running into a bit of a snag here with our earlier program, I'd like to invite our guests in to join us now, because there is no better example than what we have here today with Alan, Raven, and the Bybee Lakes Hope Center to demonstrate the fact that we have opportunities to help provide pathways, we have opportunities to partner and do things we've never done before, and we can move faster than we even might realize. And so to help us understand a really interesting project happening in our city today, I'd like to now move to inviting our guests. And I could see that they are online. They're logged in via Zoom, so we're about to try to pull them into the screen. And so with that, I'd like to invite and introduce my first guest. This is Alan Evans. He is the founder of Helping Hands Reentry Outreach Center, a Portland-based nonprofit providing helping hand to sustainable life through resources, recovery, and reentry. Alan Evans, who was homeless for over 25 years, after his own battles with addiction and the law, started the organizations to give other homeless people what he needed, a helping hand to a sustainable life. Now, he operates 12 emergency homeless shelters and reentry facilities, providing over 220 beds per night in Clatsop, Tillamook, Yamhill, and Lincoln counties. He is currently poised to open up a facility right here in Portland, which he is here to talk about tonight. With him is Raven Russell, Helping Hands Director of Data and Major Projects, who will be running the Portland facility for Helping Hands. Raven lives a life of service and is one of the rare people who is driven to help others in any way that she can. Raven, Alan, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Hi, Ozzie. Great to be here.
Thanks for having us, Ozzie.
So thanks a lot for joining. I am going to try to make sure that we can hear you. I believe the audience can hear you just fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
We can.
Okay, good. I've got a sound issue over here. Can you guys hear them all right? Yes. All right. Can you say hello again? I want to do a quick sound check.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So thank you so much for joining me today, Alan and Raven. It's very nice to have you. I understand you've been pretty busy. Last we saw each other was during one of the one of the openings where you were hosting tours. There's a pretty interesting project going on over here called the Bybee Lakes Hope Center. Why don't you tell our guests tonight, what is the Bybee Lakes Hope Center? What's going on with that now? And let's see here. I'll go ahead and start with you, Alan.
Okay, yeah, the Bybee Lakes Hope Center is a facility that we're opening by the end of the year, which used to be the Wapato jail. We did a walk through the facility about 8 months ago for the first time and looked at this beautiful building that had everything in it. You know, we've been doing this a long time, and if you could build a perfect building for what it is we want to do, this would be it. So we made an offer on it, and we just recently signed a lease for $1 a year. We've been working with other agencies and partnering with other people, and we're really excited to be moving forward to have this facility open before the end of the year.
So that project is going to open up 228 beds before the end of the year in the Portland area. And that is going to be beds for men, women, and families with children. And we specialize in trauma-informed and data-centered reentry programs for people experiencing homelessness. So we really take a person-centered approach, take the time to learn what it is that they need from us, and then wrap the services around them. So the vision for the Bybee Lakes Hope Center is being able to co-locate those emergency resources with the services that people need to reduce that transportation barrier that you were just talking about, Ozzie. That's a really major barrier for people that are experiencing homelessness. And so if we can get all the services in the same place as the basic needs, they can really start to work on their lives and spend the time that they need to heal so that they leave us ready to be self-sufficient again.
What kind of services does this include? Because a wraparound can take a lot of different areas.
Well, I think if you look at a person's story, people, they have so many different obstacles they face to re-enter society, and from addiction issues to mental health issues, domestic violence issues, homeless issues, ex-convicts, people who've been in the system. And so everybody's story is different. And so we do an evaluation when a person comes in the door so we can identify the obstacles they face. And then we kind of bring those other programs into our facility. So mental health services, addiction services, vocational training, job placement, you name it. What we want is all of it in one location.
Who all is involved in this project so far? Sounds like a lot of different specialties.
Raven?
It is. So we've been working over the last probably 6 or 7 months since we took on this project. We've been working to develop partnerships in the Portland area. It is not our intent to duplicate any services that are already available there. There's a huge need for housing. We don't want to compete with the great services that are already being offered in the community. We just want to increase access to them. So we've been building really great partnerships with people that have been providing services for the homeless in the Portland area for a long time. People like Homer Williams with Harbor of Hope. We've met with Central City Concern. We're really meeting with a lot of different partners to identify the needs of the homeless in Portland. We've also had a lot of people step forward that want to be part of the project. So OHSU is really interested in offering medical services on site. For all of the people watching that have not been in person out to the property, there's a full medical wing there with exam rooms and offices and a pharmacy and all of that. The infrastructure is there. And so OHSU would be able to come in. They would train their doctors on how to treat people who have experienced trauma, and that would be mutually beneficial. Our clients would be able to get the medical services they so badly need, and our community would benefit from having doctors that are better educated in how to handle trauma. So that's one example of an innovative partnership that we've been able to form with this property. We're really excited to continue to make those partnerships.
And if I could jump in there and to understand that when you're working with families and you have children who are homeless that are from one school to the other, we've been working with the local school districts to bring trauma-informed care schooling to kids while they're in a transition period, right? So instead of, us having 60 kids on site and sending them all to a local school, especially if they're only looking at being there between 6 and 9 months, that the schools are getting together to bring the services to the children and understand the trauma that kids are going through and bring services directly on site so they can meet the needs of those kids. Those are some of the stuff, and our local colleges too are getting involved for self-sufficiency classes and other things. So we've really been creating some great relationships and people understanding that people live through trauma and they need to be treated that way. And so those are the organizations that are jumping on board to be a part of what we want to do out here.
One of the more difficult challenges that I've seen in getting people to the right services is really cracking that shell to understand what is it that folks need. And you seem to have found a formula here. What is it that you look for in people to be good evaluators of this? Is it a study track, a skill set? How do we find more of those people?
Well, I think to paint a little bit of a story, I was homeless for a long time. I lived through some really traumatic stuff as a child. And every time I go to a door, I'd go to get food or I'd go to try to get treatment or I'd try to get a service. People always told me what they thought I needed. They never truly asked me or in depth asked me what it was that I needed. And I could not get all the services in one location. So while one place would give me treatment, they'd kick me back out on the street to the same environment I was living in before. Those are some of the basis of why we do our program the way we do, is because we want to hear people's stories. And people open up when they begin to trust. And I think that they're going to trust this process. It works in other areas and it works well.
I think that the main thing that makes a big difference in that is that our programs are person-centered, so we really take the time to learn the individual and what they need from us. We don't try to just apply a cookie-cutter pathway for every single person.
That's right.
And I think another thing that makes a really big difference there is that representation is incredibly important to us. So every facility that we operate is managed by somebody who has lived experience. And I haven't recently calculated it, but last time I did it, it was over 80% of our staff all have lived experience. You can't truly create a program to address the problem unless you understand the problem that you're addressing. And homelessness is such a very complex thing. It's impacted by so many different factors. It's impossible to wrap your arms around all of them. But as long as the person sitting across from you knows the person asking these questions has been there, they're not going to judge me. That representation really makes a difference in that trust.
Now let's talk about how you adapt over time, because you've been at this for a few years now, and you may have noticed, as being on the front lines, you see how the folks that are on the street struggling might shift. It could be how it changes over the years based on the economy. Who knows? What are you seeing shifting in recent time, and how do you adapt your programs and services as you see these shifting needs of people out on the street?
Yeah, the face of homelessness has changed dramatically in the last 10 years. Years ago, it was the streets were full of guys like me who were just running and drugging and using and doing those things. The face of homelessness changes, so everybody's needs change and everybody's stories change. And when we see 67-year-old women that have lost everything and have nowhere to go, and they're trying to find out how to adapt on the street. We're noticing, the fastest growing population of homeless today are senior citizens. And the second fastest growing population of our homeless today are families with children. That's devastating. So their needs become different. And, the wonderful thing about it is we're collecting this data and this information that drives every decision we make to be a better program, to provide the best services we possibly can based on the information we gather on what's happening today. So we have to expand in new areas. We have to work with adult and family services, and we have to work with child protection agencies and school districts and stuff. So that's changed. We've adapted because we grow with the problem, and we keep our eyes open on what people need. And when we hear that, we can help them by bringing in partners that are going to provide those services.
And I think a key piece of that is our database. We collect extensive information about the people that we're serving, and we don't make a decision in our organization unless it is backed by the data and unless it's going to improve the way that we serve the people that need our services. And that's bottom line for us. If you don't know who you're serving, you can't provide them the best quality of care. You might be making an assumption about what they need instead of actually addressing the barriers that they're facing.
Let's dig into the data a little bit, because in the sustainability world, we often say you cannot manage what you do not measure. And I'd be curious to know, what are the metrics you have found most useful to evaluate where you say you're getting the job done, you're getting the outcomes that you're looking for? What do you use as metrics, and how do those metrics help inform how you adapt?
So I'll take this one. We track a whole lot of information about people, but specifically what we measure as success. For our organization as a utilization, we measure our success in our ability to provide housing. So if we're increasing year over year the bed space because the need is increasing, then that's something organizationally that we mark as success. We are trying to respond to the need. So for us, that's how we measure our own success. But for our clients, the way that we track that in our database is, number one, are they completing their program? And for some people, that's a 3-month program. For some people, that's a 9-month program. For some people, that's 15 months before they're able to achieve self-sufficiency. But as long as they're completing what they and their case manager lined out as their plan, then that's a successful completion for us. But we instituted our reentry program to specifically address barriers and to help people build basic life skills so that they wouldn't be coming straight back to our emergency shelter. If we just waited for them to get a job and save up some money and get out in an apartment, and we didn't have any kind of accountability or skill building, then we would return to the days when we operated emergency shelters that had a recidivism rate where it'd be like, okay, we'll see you in 6 months. We don't want that for people. We want them to be able to achieve permanent housing and stay there. And so we check in with people, and after 3 years, 80% of women and 75% of men are still maintaining independent housing after completing our program. So that's how we measure our success, and we're really proud of that success rate.
And we do what we call an IRP, which is an individual reentry plan for each person who comes in our door. So after we do our evaluation, after the information goes in our system, and after we make decisions off of the information that we gather from our system for each individual person, everybody gets their own individual reentry plan. And we start off with 30-day goals, 60-day goals, 90-day goals, 6-month goals, 9-month goals, 1-year goals. Some people only need a few months. Some people need more than that. But because it's similar to an IEP in school with kids, right? They do an evaluation of what a kid needs to be at grade level. It's the same thing for our homeless population in our organization. So every individual has a unique plan based around the obstacles that they face to reenter society.
Do you work with youth that are not with adult guardians?
There are programs that allow us to do that, and so there's basic needs for us to provide a service for a person who's underage, and so we have in the past, and we continue to do so in some of our facilities today. But there's a criteria that a child has. I mean, there's some great programs for runaway youth or unparented youth that are out there, and we partner with those organizations that provide those key services. In some cases, if there's an
emancipated youth.
Emancipated youth, yes, then we can provide that service. But we've got to make sure that we're doing it correctly and that we're meeting the needs of that child.
Now, one thing that we don't often talk about in homeless services is the fact that many folks who are outside without shelter will have a pet with them. In many cases, it's not just a friend and a partner, but they really are part of the protection. So How about folks that have pets? How do you receive those folks, and how does that work out in your program?
So in this program that we're doing at Bybee Lakes, there is going to be a facility for animals. So we realize, and I know this from experience, my dog was my family. I mean, it was the closest thing I had to me. And so to ask a person to separate from something they love is extremely difficult to do. Some of our facilities aren't big enough for us to be able to provide those services, but this facility will have a shelter on site.
Fantastic. Now, it sounds like you're able to bring a lot of things together here. I've more often seen programs that might focus on families, or might focus on women or men, or might focus on mental health, but not other types of traumas. I'm curious to know, how is it that you're bringing all these things together? Have you run into any issues with permitting, with incompatible uses? Are there any barriers from the sort of permitting logistical standpoint that you might wish weren't there, so that this kind of work can be easier to implement?
Well, I think, it would always be great if there was a smooth road to get to provide the services that we would like to provide. We're an organization that believes that obstacles are opportunities. And yes, there have been some obstacles. There's been some zoning issues and some other stuff. But, we've learned, we have several buildings in several cities in Oregon that were not zoned for the use that we use them for. We know that there's a process that has to take place for that to happen. We're good at that. We've done that before. We've got a track record in it. And so, yeah, there's some zoning issues with this building, but we're right on top of that, and we're working to get those things taken care of so we can get construction underway in the next couple months. So, we're always going to run into those things, but there's a huge need out there. And this facility is perfect to provide assistance for that need. And we lean on that in every direction that we're going. We always lean on knowing that we can provide a service that's going to make a difference in Portland. And that carries a lot of weight. And because of that, more and more people are believing in this. And so suddenly those obstacles go from very big to very small.
Another obstacle I've seen folks run into from the logistics standpoint is financing. And many times projects like this have to draw funding sources from multiple places. Sometimes it's multiple jurisdictional public agency layers, public-private dollars, and so managing that process is its own sort of university program. Can you please tell us what is the relationship here of financing in this project? Is it a public-private partnership? Do you have all private dollars? And how would that change with what you're able to do?
Well, I think the way to look at it, for one, there's no public dollars involved in this. This is all private donations. I think when you become a good steward of people's money, and they know where their money is going, they know how their money is being spent, and they know that there's a problem out there, and they want to find ways to give. That builds wonderful relationships when you're doing that. So we do go after grant dollars, but the bulk of what we're going after here is private funds, and we've got some very large donors that believe in the transparency that we're bringing to the table. They see the goals that we have set, and they're helping us do that. Now, public dollars are difficult because they're fragmented. A lot of times you have to change what you do to meet the criteria to get federal or state dollars or local dollars. It has to fit into a category because we've created a best practice in our eyes for homeless reentry. We've turned that kind of money down so we don't change what we do to fit into that. So there's a couple things that we're grateful for. One is that we're very transparent about where our money's spent. We've got a wonderful see-through organization, so you know that your dollar's going to that service. And because of that, we've got some great people on board. that see that there's a need. They see that we're an organization that can do that, and they're digging in their pockets and they're giving.
I think something that's really touching too is that we have, in addition to our major donors who we're so grateful for, there have been so many random private citizens who have reached out saying, my family member was homeless or I was homeless and I love what you're doing, so thank you, and here's $20, here's $50, here's $100. We had a lady send us $8 with a letter apologizing that it was only $8 because that was all she had. But she saw the vision for hope that we're creating there, and she really wanted in. And so, that's, to me, that's so touching because that just shows that this community really wants this as a resource.
So on that note, what can people do if they are interested in learning more and if they want to get involved and help? What kind of things do you need most now? What would you love to fall out of the sky tomorrow?
Well, we can look at this two ways. One is we want your interest and we want your voice. There's a story here, a really deep story of hope. And right now we're in a time that we need a lot of hope. I think the more people get interested in our organization and you look into our organization, the more hopeful we become and change happens. When that happens, it opens the door for us to fund the things that we need to fund. We're doing about a $6 million build out on this building to bring in more light and make it a little more homier than the atmosphere it was before. And so, we're always looking to raise funds, but it's more important for us that people do their investigation into who we are and why we're the best bang for that buck. So with those two things, we build interest and people get on board and they start to see this drive for hope, and then they understand our organization and how we run it and the importance of the transparency we provide. And when we put those two things together, we'll be able to meet our goals. So most importantly, check us out.
But we are at BybeeLakesHopeCenter.com, and you can sign up for our email newsletter on the bottom of our homepage there. We're going to be putting out information about volunteering once it's safe to gather people in groups to do that. We were really sad to cancel our volunteer day that we had scheduled in March. We had a couple hundred people sign up to come out and help us clean up a little bit and do some painting and landscaping and get out some of the cobwebs. So obviously we're grateful that people are safe and happy to cancel that if we need to right now, but we will let everybody know when we have other opportunities like that. And we're also really grateful for any in-kind services that people can donate. We're doing a lot of specialty things like demolition and painting and barbed wire fence removal. So anybody who has any kind of specialty construction services that they really want to pitch in, I was talking with Pest Solutions today and Eric Ufer, and he's going to come out and take care of all our spiders for us because that's the only people who've ever lived there were spiders in almost 20 years. So it's just, we're really grateful for our community that's really pitching in. And so if anybody would like to contribute any in-kind services, then let me know.
Fantastic, thank you. And if you don't mind hanging out for a little bit, I'd like to move us into some Q&A and see if we've got any audience questions.
Sure.
I've got questions of my own all day long, but I want to make sure that we ping some audience questions. So let me see if we've got anything coming in from the live stream. And some of them might be around the project, some of them might be around some of the stuff I was talking about before. So just looking in questions now, one of the questions is actually about money. There's an interest in how we would pay for the transitional emergency sites. And I don't know if you caught that in the earlier part of the program, but there was a question, or I mentioned something about transitional emergency services. And Alan, you mentioned having a roadway that's cleared in front of you to be able to implement projects. The Transitional Emergency Services Use Standard is going to do exactly that. It's going to clear a road so that projects that want to get up and running have a pathway. And what I'd like to do is make it easy for people to plug in, whether it's a ground up building that's going to be occupied, or whether we're talking about a Thursday afternoon soup kitchen in a park that needs to pop up and serve food for a few hours once a week. Those sorts of things all need to be permitted. And if we don't have a clear pathway, that's just one thing that eliminates an obstacle. as far as how to pay for it, your example is a really powerful one, Alan and Raven, because it demonstrates that when you are doing good work, when you're producing good outcomes, and when you're really addressing the issues as in an intentional way, there's going to be people willing to be part of that. And we're seeing examples. The Bybee Lakes Hope Center is one example where there are people willing to put money forward in order to get some meaningful stuff done. And that's why I believe that if we were to actually set up a legal pathway and create a program that helps people to fund it through some sort of impact investment model, we could help bring a lot of money into an issue that the government is trying to address but simply cannot move fast enough. And if we were to simply allow people to fund something like homeless services and setting up and operating these transitional emergency sites, I think there's a lot of people that are willing and able and in positions to help. A lot of our city wants to do something. We just need the leadership to make it all possible. Let me see here. We've got a question that's going to be coming in here for you guys. I just saw another one here. And it's about longevity. Clearly, you've got the issue of getting the place up, and you've got the need to kind of get through that first year. How have you thought about how you're going to keep the place operational as you kind of fast forward here over time?
Yeah, I think there's some good answers, and we have experience in this field too, right? As we know that it's going to take about $1.4 million a year to run this facility for us. And as we move into building sustainability, there's several different ways that we can bring in enough money on a continual basis that allows us to be sustainable through contracts with corrections, Department of Human Services. See, there is money out there that needs to be funneled in the direction that comes through funds that help each individual person. And because we provide that service for a low dollar to the people, there is some freed up money out there that goes to helping people, and we've done that for years. We set up sustainable programs. We have continual outreach programs that allow people to adopt bed spaces, adopt utilities, adopt other stuff that brings in contractual dollars. And then there's always something new coming down the line from our grant agencies to provide services on a deeper than. I think if you look at our organization, we don't just provide housing, we provide multiple services. And because of that, we kind of reach into multiple categories of money that's out there. And it's continued to work for us for 18 years, and it will continue to work for us here.
Thank you. Now, I'll throw this question out to each of you. I'd love to give you a chance to respond to this as we wrap up the program. There's a lot of folks in our community, folks from churches, pastors, neighborhood associations, concerned neighbors that feel like they want to do something and they just don't know where to begin. What would you say to folks that are deeply concerned about this issue and feel like they want to do something? Where would you point them to, or what could you say to those folks so that they walk into this process with an attitude that's going to help, I think, all sides do well?
Well, I think everybody has a will to give, and when we see a problem, we want to do something about that. A lot of times, the best method for us is to join the teams of agencies and people who are providing the services that we want to provide. And so I urge you to get a hold of us. There's a place for everybody. And I promise you that there is a place for everybody to give when it comes to us. Join our team. Come on board. There's the faith community is really important. The personal givers are really important. Everybody has and is driven for our own personal purpose. And when we find something that touches our heart, we want to be able to give. A lot of times we should join a group that's doing that already, so we can be part of something bigger, and our giving goes a lot further. So please get a hold of us at bybeelakeshopecenter.com. Raven, you want to give them all all
We'll
the
put the link in the comments at the end of this video. We'll make
Yeah,
sure to
that'd
put a
be
link
great.
to your website down there.
That'd be awesome.
Raven, what would you say to folks that are really concerned about this issue and want to do something?
I hear from people all the time because, when people ask me, what do you do? I hear from people all the time that they want to do something about homelessness and they just feel hopeless. And I think that's something that's really special about the Bybee Lakes Hope Center. And I've never been homeless before. And so I had no idea what it was like, and I had no idea how to help. And it just seemed like a really big problem that somebody like little old me could never get her arms around. So what could I possibly do? But the thing is, like Alan said, when you join a team that's already working and you join hands with other people that have a different perspective from you, every single person has something different to offer. And so I would just urge people to look at what they want to offer. So we're going to have hundreds of volunteer opportunities out at Bybee Lakes, whether people want to come and get their hands in the dirt and help us plant our community gardens, or if we had people reach out and offer to come and give haircuts, or to teach people how to put together a resume or how to repair a credit score. There are some really super basic life skills things that my parents, when I turned 18 years old, taught me what a credit score was and how to improve mine and how to take care of it. And so many people never receive some of those super basic things. I'm not going to put him on the spot and ask him, but I bet that Alan did not have a similar, here's your credit score at 18. And so I think that there are just some really basic things that we forget are skills that are teachable. And I think beyond just the teaching, I think recognizing that people that are experiencing homelessness are removed from our society, and that emotional distance creates a barrier for them. And so acknowledging that they're human and maybe just coming in and sitting and, kicking a soccer ball out in our field back there with somebody, you might be able to form a friendship that's going to save them in ways that you never know. So I would just encourage people to check in with their heart, figure out how they want to participate, whether it's something that's a little more distant, like making a monthly contribution, or whether it's, picking up a paintbrush and helping us paint the walls. I mean, everybody has a space.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you very much. It sounds like you've been really, really going hard in creating this amazing project. I'm looking forward to the opening and to seeing the work. I will be putting the link down in our comments so that people can reach out to you. And I'm really excited to see how the rest of this year unfolds for this project. Glad to see that there are examples such as this in the city of Portland. I am going to now move us over. We're wrapping up here a little bit. You're welcome to stick around. I'm going to throw this back out to our audiences, reminding folks that this is part one of a three-part series. We're going to be here on Wednesday and on Friday. We are going to be talking about all sorts of other things. But as I do that, I want to just close by acknowledging that whether it's creating a clear pathway for permitting, whether it's creating a backbone structure for community service, or whether it's creating an open mechanism to incentivize people to give and donate to causes such as homelessness, government is in a position to create leadership and a framework. And government doesn't have to be the owner of the entire program and the entire solution. Right now, we don't have the luxury for government to do everything fast enough. So this is a moment where your interest, your expertise, your lived experience is essential to us getting through this. And so with that, I'm wrapping up tonight's show and the first episode of our three-part series. I want to first of all thank Paul Tice and Topa 3D for their sponsorship of this program and everyone that has worked to put this production together. My special guests, Alan and Raven, and especially I want to thank everyone out there for tuning in. I invite you to join me on Wednesday, May 6th at 7 p.m. for episode 2 of the series, where I'm going to be sharing my plans for reducing congestion and eliminating our transportation carbon footprint. My guests on Wednesday will be Adrian Piermine, the National Director of Smart Cities and Connected Vehicles for DKS, and Gary Exner, President of the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. Again, that's this Wednesday, May 6th at 7 p.m. live right here on Facebook and on YouTube. In the meanwhile, I invite you to help me make Portland history by voting for me, Ozzie, as your next mayor. With ballots already on the move, your votes, your public support, and your donations are more important than ever. You can help me by telling 10 friends about my campaign and by making a donation at aussieforpdx.org today. If you would like more information about my policies or you want to see more videos, visit my website and subscribe to my social media channels. I want to thank everybody out there for watching, and I wish everyone a safe and a very cozy, warm good night. Goodbye, Alan and Raven. Thanks a lot for joining me.
Bye. Thanks, Ozzie. That was great. Talk to you later.